Hey everyone, and welcome to Biking with Campbell. Today we are going to be testing the Triumph Scrambler 400, which I've been wanting to test for ages, and it's going to enable me to do a comparo of all of the new 450/500s, and yeah, be able to do a great comparo. But today we're just going to test this on its own, as its own thing. I'm going to try hard not to compare it to anything else, and yeah.
All I want is a perfect unicorn. All I want is a perfect motorbike. Power, sound to excite. No rider age, just raw delight. Lean, cheap and super light. All I want is a perfect unicorn. All I want. All I want. All I want.
So we're here at Auckland Triumph, which is also Auckland Harley Davidson. And once again, I want to do a big thank you to those guys for lending me the bike. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, standing position, feels pretty good. Not too far down to the bars. Feels like there is an adequate amount of room between the bars and the pegs. This thing's got 20 Ks on it, so we can't beat this thing to death, and it will be quite tight. So now if you know anything about, if you've ever owned a new bike, you'll know that everything loosens up on them. Like, so the suspension softens up, it's quite stiff from new, and the motor's often quite tight and doesn't want to like rev out. So it does make a difference when they've got a few Ks on it. Now I can get both feet flat on the ground, super easy, really easy. I'm not in my big motocross boots either, I'm just in a normal pair of riding boots, so I can get my foot under the gear lever nice and easy. Okay, nice and smooth there as we pull away, very easy on the throttle. We're going to go straight on the motorway now and just get a bit of an idea about what it's like at 100 Ks. Gearbox is pretty slick already. I imagine that'll get even nicer than this. 6 gear, 80 Ks, 4,000 RPM. Thing redlines at 12.5 by the looks. So wind it up to 100s very slowly. Okay, it's a little bit vibey but not too buzzy here at 90. Oh yeah, good pickup there. Oh yeah, just with a little wind of the throttle there, it picked up to 100 Ks, really easy, really nicely. So yeah, motorway feels okay, it's pretty stable. It's a pretty windy, blustery day. Obviously it's got no windshield, but it doesn't feel too bad, to be honest, at these speeds anyway. If you're overseas and your motorway speeds, I know what the freeways like in America, everyone's doing like at least 70 miles an hour upwards. So yeah, it's a little bit different there than it is here. I thought that was the off ramp, but not. Yep, okay, easy to slot between traffic. What's it like standing? Yeah, a little bit more. Flick it to side really easy. So just around 40 Ks. This is pretty smooth in fifth. So that's pretty good. Like, it's going to, you know, unless you're an absolute noob and you're not paying any attention, you're trying to ride along in the suburbs in 6th gear, but you know, it's going to sit on in 5th easy peasy. That's pretty smooth pulling away actually at 40. Yeah, see, look at this, easy. You can accelerate no sweat with a whisper of throttle from 40 Ks in 5th. So nice flexible motor. Okay, next test. Twisty road. Finding the brakes quite good on this. The ABS is good. It's not too intrusive. In fact, I've had trouble making it come on. So that kind of suggests the tyres actually have plenty of grip and that the ABS is really subtle. I've had to work really hard, like slamming on the rear brake pretty much, to get the rear ABS to activate and actually get some of that pulsing through the lever. So as per that big Triumph Tiger that I rode, the ABS on this seems brilliant. The brakes themselves seem pretty good, especially considering the pads are probably not fully bedded in. They're perfect for beginners, and more experienced riders are not going to be annoyed through like a lack of bite or power. It's like for a given amount of pressure at the lever, you get a given amount of braking force. I'm quite impressed with the brakes. I think they're effective. It might have been a little bit on the keen side. Or was that fifth? So there's a fifth gear kind of roll on overtake. Not obviously the best gear to be trying to do a quick overtake with. Okay, so I'm going to do my 70 kilometre brake test down here. Okay, here we go. Oop, going a bit more than 70. Alright, here we go, 70. Yeah, it pulls up pretty quick and quite nicely. Now the suspension's quite, yikes, bouncy, so it's a little under damped, and yikes, the suspension's a little bouncy and it's a little under damped, and the bike's a little twitchier than some of the other things in this class. Obviously it's got the 19-inch front wheel and it's designed to be a bit more of a road bike, less of a kind of adventure-y kind of bike, and so they've gone for slightly quick steering, but mixed with this suspension, I'm finding that it gets a bit upset pretty quickly, but it does turn pretty fast. I do like these tyres that it comes on. I think they're a Karoo Street. I had a quick look at them. They're definitely a Karoo, but I think they're the Street Karoo. They seem to have plenty of grip. I've been mucking around with the brakes and seeing what I can get away with on some of these slippery surfaces, and you can get away with quite a bit. So that's a good sign, and yeah, the more I get used to them, the more I'm feeling confident that they kind of hang on all right. And the other thing to bear in mind is, what have we got on the 63k? So 63k's, this is basically the only riding it's done, which means it's all been in the wet, it hasn't been leaned over, so they're not scrubbed in. So obviously they'd be better again if they had. There's not as much water on this as I thought there'd be. Hey! Oh, maybe I'm going to get wet boots from that. Yep. Oh no, I got wet boots. Well, a wet boot anyway. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up this hill. I'm just going to leave it, and it's just standard road sort of setting. So it's road ABS, road TC, and just see what it's like. So if you were cruising along, you couldn't be bothered like changing the settings and stuff, what would it be like? I just noticed I'm standing without like noticing that I'd done it. Kind of means that it's quite happy to do it, you know, it's like quite comfortable to stand. Bikes that aren't, you just, you know what I mean, like it's kind of an effort, whereas I feel pretty comfortable standing on this. It's quite good. I'm just keeping on the same gear. I think I'm in third, just slipping the clutch out of some of those slower corners, but yeah, it does pull pretty well. I have stalled it once, pulling through an intersection when I'd basically come to a stop, and I was in third because I was being lazy, and that laziness didn't go that well. Okay. The tyres it's a bit rolly on this stuff, like you'd expect, maybe with some road tyres. I haven't hit any significant bumps yet. Way there. Make it easy, big man. There's actually quite a bit of loose gravel on this today, I think. like sort of piled up loose gravel. That was the fourth gear. A little bit on the clutch. Here we are on some slippery clay. Oh, these tyres are pretty good. Wow. Okay, we're over some bumps there, a little bit of corrugation. Oh, wow, this is, gee whiz, this is surprisingly good across these corrugations, because I was thinking it was a bit like stiff and hard and kind of moving through its stroke a bit quick on, even on like on the tar seal. Yeah, the ABS is on. Interesting. I haven't felt the TC kick in, which I thought was going to. Maybe it's not on. Oh, yep, there it goes. Gee whiz. So you could just go straight onto a gravel road, screw stopping and messing around with the settings. Not that there's, you know, too many. I think it's, you can turn the TC off or you can turn it to off-road. Wow, this is really good. It's really good. I'm just sitting and it's really comfortable. Well, gee, it's quite quick. I'm really liking this. This is definitely a big thumbs up. I feel like this road is not quite as bumpy as it normally is. I think it's normally got some nastier corrugations, but we'll find some and we will chuck it across them and see how we go. But I am loving this. This is really cool. I'm kind of doing the put the foot out thing, which is probably just really silly, but oh dear. Whoa, got a bit out of shape there, like the back wheel was locking up. I don't know what happened then. It's definitely not the case. Whoa, 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 whoa. So what happened there was I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing as I was talking to you guys, and I got in that corner a little hot and I was leaning on the front and I was still on the picks when I dove into the corner, and it did get a tiny wee bit tucky on me there. Which is interesting, the ABS is on, so that would have, but that's how much braking force you can apply and how much, how much braking force you can apply without the ABS kicking in, which is just great. Like, you don't feel like you're missing out, you know. Some of those, some ABS systems, like the one on the CF Moto 450 MT, at least they've fixed it. You know, you're in these sort of slippery conditions, and the ABS you just feel like you just don't have as much braking as you could have if the bloody thing was switched off. But this is just superb. Triumph so knows what they're doing with ABS, man. They're just so good at it. This is great. Sorry, I'm raving a bit. It's probably not that helpful. Yeah, if you're new to off-roading, adventure biking, you know, and you're doing this kind of stuff, you know, I don't know what it would be like if you're off-road on slippery clay. But, you know, for this kind of thing, you just don't, you don't need to stop and put it in off-road or switch the TC off or any of that stuff. Let's see, we'll do our de-rigger. Slow speed turning. Can I get to full lock? Yeah, I can. Really easy. Whoa, put a foot down. Oh, put a foot down. Hang on. Let's try that again. Yeah, balance is really good. What about slow speed? Straight line. How slow can I go? How slow can I go? Saying I'm doing, oh yeah, keep forgetting it's got an analog speedo. Slow is the answer to that. So there you have it, and it's standard road mode on a wet, slippery, tight, windy, corrugated gravel road, this thing works mint. If you are new to this kind of thing, just ride it. Just go ride it and have some fun. And even these tyres were working really well. So thumbs up. Double thumbs up, double thumbs up. So we're in off-road mode now. So that means traction control is off and ABS is off to the rear. Now we'll test that, we'll make sure that's right, but that's what I got told. Pretty sure that sounds like that would be correct. Let's try it out. Yep, that rear ABS is off. Yoo-hoo, boy! Let's go, boy! Let's go, boy! Whoa! Oh, I stalled it. Does that mean it's going to come out off-road? No, it's still in off-road. Would help if I wasn't in fourth. Change down, Campbell. That'll... now let's just check, see if the front ABS is on. No, it is not. It turns the ABS off both ends. Yikes. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Okay, a couple of big sort of nasty potholey things there. Here's some corrugations. Digging the back of my leg into where the seat begins here, and maybe one of the panels. Where is that? Yeah, I think the panel, and that's pretty good for getting a bit of grip here, you know, with your leg. So I've got no flow on now because I'm trying to hit the brakes going into the corner and, you know, spin it out and all that kind of thing, and so I'm just not riding very smoothly. And also now I know I can't just crack on these brakes. So I'm kind of getting into the corners as hot as I was earlier, but probably shouldn't be. I need to brake a bit sooner and slow down a bit quicker. So the ABS was giving me a really huge advantage earlier. And you know, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I'm pretty good on the brakes typically. So that's what I mean about the ABS on this bike, is it really works really well. You know, makes you faster and you're going to be a bit safer playing silly buggers. Not that you should ever play silly buggers on a bike. You should be riding safely at all times. A lot of good feel from this back brake, by the way. Like, it's not really just on and off. You know, like you get some bikes and the back brake is just, it's just hopeless. You know, it's mushy and you got nothing, and then it's just like locked up. But actually, you can modulate this rear pedal really well. I'll give it a little bit, I'll give it a lot. There goes, there goes a lot. Okay, some bit of a slippery bit there. Yeah, this rear tyre's got so much grip. Like, I was giving quite a bit of brake there and it was only just barely locking up. Pretty surprised by these tyres. They don't look like, you know, they look like they're kind of sort of faux, kind of adventure-y kind of tyres. But they are not. This is working really well, and weirdly I feel like the suspension's working better in this situation than it was on the road. Maybe it's just these high frequency bumps that it's quite happy to sort of float over, because on the road I was getting a lot more kind of nasty undulations and it was getting it a bit out of shape. Yeah, mostly I'm just relying on the bottom and the mid-range here. As I say, I haven't revved it out because it just doesn't have very many Ks on it. I'm probably going to have to get this into 6 and leave it there, because try not to over rev it. It's clearly got a bit of a, not rev limiter, but little warning. Rev counter starts flashing, probably because, you know, they want you to keep it under a certain number of revs. Yep, I called them up straight away. It sucks bums. Oh, it's going to move over. Fortunately got the pacing there, just the right timing for those passes, which is good. Into the last corner up here. I got through there a little bit quicker. That's all she wrote, peeps. So just a little squirt on a bit of windy road. Worked a treat. Lots of fun. Enough bottom end and mid-range to give you a bit of a laugh and get on. And so yeah, ideal for that kind of road. Like obviously, you know, if you're trying to get a shift on roads where you're going to need to be going like well over 100 k's to get your jollies, it's not going to really be suitable for that. But also too, that's very illegal. It's very naughty. So yeah, probably good from the point of view of keeping your license and having a bit of a laugh on a twisty road. And yeah, double thumbs up on the Triumph 400 Scrambler X. I think it's an X. The one with the spoked wheels is the XC. Anyway, it's enough banging on by me. Let's go back to the studio.
So now it's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, let's talk about the good. Well, it's a phenomenal little bike. Super fun. The engine's great. It'll just carry along the motorway, no problem. It's got great bottom end and mid-range. It doesn't have a huge amount of top end, but yeah, as you could see, it wasn't revving particularly hard on the motorway, so that's good. Suspension's pretty good. It's got a reasonable amount of travel. It's got reasonably good damping. Rear shock's a bit soft, and I think is probably one of the weaker points, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But overall, the front end is quite good. Normally, I'm being really put off scramblers because everyone that I've tried up until this 400, the ergonomics have been awful. Your feet are too far forward, makes you feel like you're kind of turned into a bit of a staple, makes you feel like you're on a cruiser or something. That's not very comfortable, doesn't give you very good control. And then the other thing is when you're sitting on most of those other bikes, the bars feel like they're too high, so I get sore shoulders on that and kind of a bit of a stiff neck. And then when you stand up on them, the bars are way too low, and because the pegs are too far forward, you end up kind of falling over the front. The Scrambler 400 is not like that at all. The sitting position is mint. Your feet are directly under your hips like they would be on an adventure bike, for example. The bars feel like they're the right distance away, the right height, very, very, very comfortable. And then when you stand up, you feel like you've got plenty of room. On the X, there's probably maybe just a little bit smidge too much of a drop to the bars at my 510, but we're talking 10 or 15 millimeters, and I believe the XC is slightly higher bars, which will be interesting to see if I get a ride on that. So yeah, good motor, good suspension, good ergos. I also liked the brakes, which is interesting because if you watch almost any other review, they'll talk about how they're weak and spongy and lack bite and feel, and I thought completely the opposite. So I'm not sure what was going on there. I liked the feel, I liked the progressive nature of them, that for a given amount of lever pressure you got a given amount of braking. The ABS worked really well. I thought there was good feedback through the lever. yeah, obviously, you know, they don't have huge amounts of power. It's got one disc, one caliper on it, but I thought for what it was, the weight of the bike, they worked perfectly. If you don't like them, I think you can run a different set of pads in them and get a little bit more bite if that's what you want, but I thought they were great. Anyway, those are the highlights of the things that I thought were great. Let's talk about the bad. Now, I'm really scraping here for something to say that's in the bad category. I'd argue maybe the seat is a little bit uncomfortable and your backside gets a little bit sore quicker than you would hope for, what you might expect. But they do a comfort seat, and because you're paying so little for the bike, I don't think it would be hard to take it to a local upholsterer and get them to reshape it, or refoam it, or add gel seat or whatever. Not a big deal. You might find the seat really comfortable. They're sort of a personal preference thing, like one man's meat is another man's poison when it comes to motorcycle seats. So as I said, I'm scraping for something negative to say, but if I was going to say bad, I'd say, nah, the seat's a bit meh. The other thing that's bad, that I feel falls just in the bad category, is the lack of spoked wheels on the X. If you want the wire spoked wheels, just get the up-spec version, which is the XC. Downside is I don't like the colours on the XC. If I was getting one, I'd probably go towards yellow because I kind of like flamboyant colours. But the beauty of the X is that green tank with a white, it just looks excellent. Yeah. So, but yeah, if you want the spoke wheels, go to the XC, problem solved. There's obviously aftermarket options, but then you really start to crank the price of that bike up, and then it's a bit like, bit of a wonder why. Okay, let's talk about the ugly. So, the ugliest thing about the Scrambler is that rear shock. Now, I had quite a bad experience on the one that I rode, but then when I got back to the shop, I had a look and the preload was set to the absolute minimum. So I think my experience on it was probably, not ideal. I think if that preload had been set to like a stiffer setting for my weight, because I weigh like 100 kilos with gear on, and this is obviously not a bike with suspension set up for a 100 kilo person, it would have been better. But I think most commenters have talked about how it's a weak point, and early in the video you would see that I was talking about how it would get a bit out of shape, and that was on undulations. So it's very hard to set a bike up so that it works well over high speed bumps, like high frequency bumps like corrugations, and then have a shock that still works for kind of like undulations. Unless you buy a really expensive bike with a really expensive shock in it. So they tend to be set up for one or the other. And interestingly, this thing just floated over all of those corrugations and stuff on that gravel road. It was excellent, super comfortable. I was so blown away. But then on the road, that undulation really started to tie the bike in knots. Like you could ride around it, it's not a problem. My Africa Twin can be a little bit like that. So yeah, to make that bike really good, then I think probably look at either taking the shock to your local suspension person. If you want to pay a bit more money, then maybe get an aftermarket shock for it. There are heaps of options around. So that's about it. I'm trying to keep this video nice and short. Remember to like, subscribe, share. That would really help the channel out at this point. And remember, ride fast, take chances, and God bless you all.
Biking with Campbell. Bye. Okay. We'll see you later. You can go now. Thanks for coming. See you all later. Come back again, you all here. Cheers.